Welcome to my channel. My name is Kubeir. आप सबका स्वागत है. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to today's broadcast, today's live question and answer. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, so I know if everything is working fine. I can see myself on my screen, so I'm hoping you can also see me at this point of time. And before we start our today's session, and we will be taking lots of questions. A lot of people have been asking so many different questions. There have been so many different updates. So many different things are happening in our exciting world of Canadian immigration. So we'll be talking a lot today. Today's session, we sort of will take it long. We'll take it sort of, we will try and answer so many questions, as many as we can. We will talk about, so basically, though there is no specific agenda for today's program as such, or today's broadcast, but yeah, primarily I would like to cover what? Self-employed work experience and self-employed stream. Two different things, but we will talk about both of them in detail. We would also talk about business immigration as a pathway, as a lot of you out there may sort of be looking to take that up as a possible way of coming or immigrating to Canada. And we will talk about what's happening with federal skilled worker programs. We'll talk about what's happening with CEC, what's happening with the draws, etc., etc. We will also talk about all the different changes that have been happening in the last couple of days. I mean, every day you wake up and say, oh, it's another boring day, and then suddenly there's a flurry of updates and changes, and it sort of makes it all very, very exciting. So, and in addition to that, yeah, keep posting your questions. Just hold your questions for time being, because honestly, I will not be able to go through the feed of questions at this point of time until I finish talking about these streams. Some of you may get your answer while I explain about these streams and sort of tell you how you can take this up as an opportunity. And then once we open up for questions, by all means, just throw them out and we will start taking them. While we do that, and if any one of you has an interesting question, which looks very meaty and looks very interesting in terms of how complicated or how challenging it might be, we'll bring you on. And if we do invite you on for the live chat, and you can sort of address your question, pose your question, I would request that you make sure that you have a headphone or a microphone, reasonable network connection, so that we can have a seamless and a pleasing experience for everybody who is watching. Right, first things first, I am just going to open up the page so that I have it in front of me. So sometimes things might change and I might sort of go out on a different thing altogether, and you don't want to do that. So just give me one moment till I open. I should have actually opened this by now, but yeah, how things happen. Okay, so I'm just trying to open the occupation code for self-employed stream so that becomes easier for me to refer to when I am talking about that. Okay, yeah. Okay, until I get to that, let me sort of come to other areas. So so the two differentiating factors, first of all, self-employed work experience and self-employed stream, two different things altogether. So as a federal skilled worker, you are eligible to apply if you are a self-employed individual. You are a business owner, you're a partner, you're a shareholder, you run your own store, you run your own business, you have your own shop, you're a freelancer, you have maybe you sort of do a full-time job on Upwork or Fiverr or any of these platforms. You provide your services, or maybe you are let's say, what could be that, a dance teacher, right? And you provide your services of offering dance lessons or singing lessons or piano playing lessons, all these things as a freelancer, as an individual who's offering these services. All of you can still claim your work experience. All right, so you are all self-employed individuals. You work for yourself, you provide services, you obviously charge money for this. So it's a very, very important aspect. Some of you may be employed and are falling short of 6 months of work experience, 1 year of work experience, because you need those 3 years of work experience to get the maximum number of points. So what do? if you've had work experience, or you do this also, or you have had in the past a business experience, or you are now pursuing business, or you're working, as a shareholder, as a partner, then what do you do? Can you claim that work experience is the question. Yes, of course, absolutely, you can claim this point of, or rather this work experience. There's no issues with that. The issue is with providing documents to prove it, right? So IRCC has no problem if you are self-employed. So under federal skilled worker, and I keep saying under federal skilled worker because under CEC, under Canadian experience class, self-employed work experience in Canada is not eligible, is not valid, is not acceptable. However, self-employed work experience outside of Canada is absolutely fine, acceptable. There is no issues whatsoever. Sorry about that. I was just looking at a question and that sort of threw me off as I took away from what I was trying to, my flow of conversation. Chitra Bhanu Pathak, we will come to the self-employed immigration stream. Right now, we're just referring to self-employed work experience under Federal Skilled Worker Program, right? So what do you need to prove to IRCC for your work experience? For any kind of work experience, you need to prove your period of work. So by period of work, I mean, how long have you been working for? 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever is the period of your work experience. That is the first thing. Because IRCC considers for you to, evaluate your work experience as a full-time work experience to get your points, they have specified 30 hours per week is going to be your evaluation for full-time work experience. So if you're going to be claiming points for 3 years of full-time work experience, you need to basically show 1560 into 3, which is 4,680 hours of work experience over a period of 3 years. You cannot sort of compress it, right? As you already know that. So this is what you need to prove, that you need to prove that you've been working so many hours for so many days, for so many months, so many years in order to claim. So that is your first factor of proving your work experience, which you need to provide. Second factor would be, were you paid? All right, which is most important. So if your work experience, you did not get paid for your work experience, you were not paid, for that period of time, or you were doing an honorary job or an honorary position, or if you were doing this as a hobby, then you cannot claim this period of work experience. This period of work experience must be paid. Okay, it has to be remunerated. The amount is irrelevant. The amount is not important, but it has to be paid. Okay, so that's very important. And third, and very, very important, is your duties and responsibilities, because you need to correspond it to a eligible NOC, National Occupation Classification Code, so NOC code, and it has to be in skill type 0A or B. Okay, so you have to choose a specific NOC code. Again, the NOC code has to be corresponding with your duties and responsibilities. Once you find that NOC code and you identify the duties and responsibilities, and that you do perform those duties and responsibilities, then you need to prove them. So 3 important factors. As an employee or as a self-employed, these 3 factors have to be proven. So how do you go about proving them? The first and foremost is your work period. So in a self-employed situation, because it's your own business, you cannot write duties for yourself. So you cannot have a self-declared, notarized affidavit saying that, I have been working in these duties. Sorry about that, needed my coffee. I woke up too late and anyways. So you cannot use a self-notarized, or rather, you cannot issue a duties and responsibilities for yourself. It has to be from a third party. Because you're not working for somebody else, okay, you have to prove that you actually were self-employed. So if you had a store, if you have a business, if you have some sort of legal operation, any kind of business that you are working in, you need to prove the ownership. You need to prove that you are the owner of this particular business. If you were a freelancer, there's a huge chance that you never incorporated yourself. You never formed a company. You don't have a license to show that you are the owner of your business, because you were not. That's fine. Okay. You will still need to prove that you were registered for providing these services. For example, if you were providing, let's say, Services as a company secretary. Do you have a certification that shows that you're so a membership certification from company's secretary chapter? If you are practicing as a chartered accountant, are you a chartered accountant? Are you a member of the the chartered accountancies? Uh, in any which ways, if you are providing professional services, you need to provide document to show that you could actually provide those services, because it sort of goes and ties in with the authenticity of what you're trying to do. I'm sorry I'm taking a bit of time and explaining this, because there is a lot of details which goes into this, and I don't want to sort of skip or forget something, and then that will leave several questions. So for people who are not from self-employed stream or self-employed work experience, just have a bit of patience. Just hold on for a bit till I go through this whole thing. Some of it might be relevant to you as well. So coming back to it, so you need to provide the ownership. If you are doing freelance work, then even then, if you are registered, you're authorized with somebody, you're part of some association, you're part of something which sort of validates what you are doing and provides credibility to the fact that you are working, you are doing this. Please provide that. It always makes a huge difference. It sort of provides integrity to what you're claiming. Then comes the fact of your NOC code. How do you prove your NOC code? You need to get reference letters from your clients to who you are providing these services. All right, extremely important. If you're a freelancer, for example, working on Fiverr, get reference letters from your clients, whoever you are providing services to. Right? They have to mention the period of work. From when to when were you providing these services? How many hours it took you to provide those services? Was it a project work? How many hours they usually saw you doing this? If you are running a store, if you are a business owner, if your business was operating from 9 in the morning to 6 in the evening, then somebody could mention, one of your clients could mention that, yes, I have taken this person's services. I was this person's clients while he was performing these, or he or she. I'm sorry, I do not mean any gender offense here, but anyways, he or she, while this person was performing these duties, I saw this person performing A, B, C duties, which again corresponds to the knock that you have chosen. I have seen this person during the business hours, and their business hours run from 9 in the morning to 6 in the evening. So I think that this person was performing or working for 40 hours a week, 30 hours a week, 48 hours a week, some relevance to time or working hours. Okay. If what else could it be? Okay, of course, now the remuneration or the salary, or so not the salary, but being paid part. So provide invoice copies, provide payment vouchers, provide bank statements, provide income tax returns of the business, not yourself. Whether you paid yourself from the company or not is irrelevant. The fact you are a self-employed, so you and business become one. And because you and the business become one, and everything the business is doing is what you are doing, therefore provide proof that this business was providing these services in exchange for remuneration or something that you are making in terms of charging people. So payment receipts, payment vouchers, check copies of checks, wire transfers, bank statements that show that this company's bank statement that show this that you are getting paid, income tax returns of the company. All of this will become extremely crucial and important to prove what you are trying to do. All right. Taking a reference letter from your partner doesn't work. Okay, because it's your partner. That sort of will not work in this case. You will need it from third party. You will need it from people who can be verified whether you are working and performing these activities or not. So this in its entirety will become a self-employed work experience. Now, sorry about that. Coming to the self-employed immigration stream, okay, this is entirely different than the self-employed work experience. Self-employed work experience is under express entry. Self-employed stream is not under express entry. It's a different stream. There is no point system, as in there is no draw that takes place for self-employed stream. So it's a totally different stream, nothing to do with self-employed work experience. If you're an IT professional, you could claim points for self-employed work experience. If you have a garments store, you could claim points for self-employed work experience. If you were a factory owner, you could claim points for self-employed work experience. If you were a construction company owner, you could claim points for self-employed work experience. Self-employed stream is absolutely different. It has got nothing to do with express entry. Self-employed stream is for very specific occupations. All right. Usually, self-employed stream applies to people who have self-employed experience. Again, this cannot be employee-employer relationship. They have to be self-employed. They should be working for themselves. So this experience is specifically in cultural activities or athletics, and your skill set should be, identified as making a contribution to the cultural and athletic life of Canada. So these are the differentiating aspects between self-employed immigration stream and self-employed work experience in federal skilled worker program in Express Entry. So we have covered the first one, which was the self-employed work experience in federal skilled worker program. Now let's talk about the self-employed stream. Okay, so I've explained to you who is basically eligible for the self-employed stream. Your occupation is the most important, and it cannot be occupation as an employee. It has to be occupation as a self-employed individual. Okay, that is the most important factor. It has got nothing to do with Express Entry. If you are eligible, you can actually apply for it directly. It's a paper application. The problem with the paper application in this particular case is that it could take anywhere between 2 to 3 years for processing time. And the application fee is also significantly higher. It's, I think, about $2,000 just for the application fee. So it's significantly different than your Express Entry regular. Now, you have to have proper work experience. Again, you will have to prove your self-employed work experience. Now, when you prove your self-employed work experience, everything that I've said earlier, all of that applies to you. Okay, you will have to prove that you were working, and you have to prove that you were working as a self-employed. So all the aspects that I mentioned earlier, which was in relation to the federal skilled worker program, that applies to you also in trying to prove your work experience. Okay, now the most important factor or criteria for a self-employed stream is your knock code. First of all, the knock code is in the series of 5-2. So it starts in the 5-2 group series, which will have your cultural activities, athletics, and I keep forgetting which exactly the occupation codes were, and I have to look those up before I sort of say something which is not really true. But most importantly, you can claim this also has a grid point. Now, this grid point is not to choose you over one another. In Express Entry, there is a comprehensive ranking system score, which chooses one person over another based on who has a higher points. In self-employed, there is only an eligibility criteria. And in the eligibility criteria, you need to score at least 35 points. Now, I'll explain to you how easy it is to score 35 points. Total is 100. You need to score at least 35 points to basically, get through this in terms of being eligible. And you will get points for education, your work experience, your age, your language abilities, and your adaptabilities. Just the fact that if you have a master's degree, it will give you 25 points. Okay. Just the fact that if you have 5 years of relevant experience of self-employed work experience, that itself gives you 35 points. Okay. So being eligible in a self-employed immigration stream, to be very honest, is not very difficult. You obviously get points for age, you get points for language. All of that information is available on the IRCC website. It's not really rocket science to check that and figure out if you're eligible. The most important factor to check whenever you're checking if you are self-employed, you're eligible on the self-employed immigration stream, is your knock code. Okay, the knock code has to fall between the requirement as per IRCC in terms of you being self-employed under cultural activities, athletic activities. Now, if you were earlier, you have performed at a world-class level, right? And you have then gone on and started working as a self-employed, you could be eligible. Maybe you were representing your country, Asian Games, Olympic Games, paramilitary games, Commonwealth Games, any of that kind of, at a world-class level, you could be eligible. You will just need to check IRCC's website to figure out your eligibility points. If you can score 35 and you have the right knock code that works for them, you will work. And just give me one moment. I just want to pick up the right knock code to tell you exactly which knock codes will be eligible. I should have opened. I think for some reason I managed to close that particular. page, and now I'm having to find that again. So just give me one moment. All right. So these are some of the occupations who will be eligible. I've got, okay. Thankfully, I've got the so five series of knock code, the group of five, uh, as in the knock code starting with five. Okay. So you have librarians, conservators, curators, writers, translating professionals, authors, editors, creative and performing arts, producers, directors, choreographers, conductors, composers, musicians, singers, dancers, actors, comedians, painters, sculptors, and then announcers, performers, photographers, graphic arts technicians, other performers working in different. So, if you are working in a coordinating occupations in motion pictures, broadcasting, performing arts, creative designers, craftspersons, illustrators, interior designers, interior decorators, theaters, fashion, exhibit, and other creative designers, artisans, craft persons, pattern makers, textile, leather, and fur products, athletes, coaches, referees, sports officials, program leaders, and instructors in recreation. Oh, long list of people who absolutely could be eligible under self-employed immigration stream, provided you are working as a self-employed individual. Okay. Now, these are the main occupation codes. So look for occupation code starting with series 5. If this knock code works for you, check your eligibility. If you're a self-employed person, if you can prove your self-employed work experience, you have been working in the last 5 years or something, you could definitely be eligible. This takes away from the fact of all that pressure that you may have had for IELTS. It takes away from that pressure of CRS scores. It takes away the pressure of express entry, and it gives you a great opportunity to apply under self-employed immigration stream. It's a paper application. All you need to do is make sure you get your documentation in order. The everything has been described quite well on the CIC website. Yes, obviously they tend to not make it easy for you to find out, but with a little bit of effort, I'm sure you'll be able to do that. So again, most important, be able to prove that you are working as a self-employed. Your knock code should be validated. There are at times things which crosses over. For example, if you're a jeweler, okay, you would want to call yourself and if you're a jeweler, can you apply under this, because this also talks about designers, it talks about artists, it talks about people who can who are craftsmen. So can you use that knock code? No. As a jeweler, you are a jeweler. There's a different knock code for a jeweler which does not come under this particular occupation. All right. So be very careful in your excitement of wanting to be eligible under this program. Do not choose the wrong knock code. IRCC can be quite uh, I'm trying to look for a polite word. They can be quite strict about identifying the knock code and making sure that or rather they will be very strict about what knock code you have chosen, and if your documents provides that validity to say that these knock code is absolutely yours. So provide enough documents, prove your knock code, and trust me, this is a great program which is actually overlooked by a lot of people. So you may have a good chance of going through this program. So I'm repeating, I mean, for the same for some reason, but I love this program for the reason because it gives a chance to so many people out there who otherwise under express entry have no chance, right? Because when I'm saying have no chance, because age, maybe the education, maybe the IELTS is just a struggle, and basically they will not be able to score this crazy scores of 470 plus at this point of time. What do? PNP is not easy, as a lot of you are already struggling with PNP, I'm sure. So what, I mean, you can't come to Canada. No, it's not that, so there are different programs. As I've said so many times, there are more than 100 immigration programs. All you need to do is identify which one works for you. All right. So it takes a bit of effort. We're all trying to do DIY, do it yourself. So if you're going to be doing it yourself, then you obviously need to spend that much time and effort in doing the research, in identifying what works for you. All right. One moment, please. Now, so we have covered the main aspect for today's agenda. The second part of today's main discussion was the business immigration. Now, why am I again referring to business immigration? Because there are a lot of you out there who write to me and who ask me about business immigration, and the problem is that they have been lured by some again, I have to be very polite because all kinds of people are watching this. So they have been lured by all these advertisements that they see in their home countries, in the newspapers, in the flyers, in their WhatsApp that they get, or in their Instagram posts. 50,000 Canadian dollars, buy a business, come to Canada, you can get your PR so easily. That is how usually these posts will go. They make it sound as if it's a walk in the park. That pay $50,000 and next thing you can do is you will get your PR, as if it's buying your PR. You're going to a supermarket or a grocery store and you're going to be buying your permanent residence. Please do not fall into this trap. Okay, let me explain to you what are the available programs. First of all, at the federal level, Canadian central government is what we call as the federal government. At the federal level, there are no investment programs for PR. Okay, they used to be until 2014. That was scrapped. It was closed. After that, there are no investment programs that gets you a PR in Canada at the federal level. All right, and I will before some of you jump onto me, and let me clarify. There are a couple of programs, but they are not PR by investment programs. So the first one I've already spoken to you about, self-employed immigration stream. Again, as you can see, this has got nothing to do with how much money you will invest. The second one is called the startup visa. Now, what is a startup visa? Startup visa again is not dependent on your investment at all. Startup visa is for people who may have a great idea of a business or of a product, of a service, which they want to launch in Canada. You can pitch that idea to designated and authorized incubators, angel investors. Okay. If your idea, your concept, your startup is accepted by the incubator or the angel investors, and they agree to sort of invest, or they agree or support your business with a certain amount, I think it's between $75,000 to $200,000, depending on what kind of investor it is. And obviously, they have to be registered with IRCC before you can even approach them. So if you get a support letter from these guys, then you will be eligible to apply under startup visa. Again, it has nothing to do with investment, right? It nothing to do with investment from your side. It has to do with investment from the investor's side. So these are the two programs at the federal level. There is no other federal immigration program for investment which gets you a PR. Okay, I'm just going this into detail because a lot of you get fooled with this fancy advertisements that people will throw in your face. Now, how does one get investment immigration then? Investment immigration is offered only by the provinces. Okay, so mostly I think all the provinces have some sort of entrepreneur business investment entrepreneur program. Each of the province has a different way of conducting it or imparting it. In most cases, I think except Quebec and one more province, is it New Brunswick? I'll have to just check, but Quebec for sure. Quebec is the only province, maybe one more, but I'm not, but yeah, mainly largely Quebec, whereby you can deposit a certain amount of money with the government for a period of time. And if you are eligible under certain other factors and criteria, you will be able to sort of get a CSQ. And from there on, you will be able to apply for your PR. The process time with Quebec could be a very long one. It could take almost 5 years from Quebec. With all other provinces at the entrepreneur immigration, business immigration process, first you will give your expression of interest. Then again, they have a point system. Once they pick your profile in a draw, They will then invite you to apply. You will apply. You will give them your business plan. You will give them all your documents. You will obviously commit to investing at least $100,000, which is with British Columbia rural program. But usually it is more than that. Usually $150,000 to $250,000 is what you will commit to invest in the business in most of the provinces. And you will have a net worth. The net worth could include your property, your real estate, your whatever assets you may have, the combination of that, and a certain portion available as liquid funds, anywhere ranging from $300,000 to $600,000-$800,000, depending again from one province to another. Once they accept your documents and business plan, you will sign a business performance agreement with the province, which says that yes, I will create these many jobs, I will invest in this kind of a business, I will do this, I will do this. Based on that, you will get an endorsement. You will then apply for a work permit, not a PR, work permit. Once you get a work permit, you will come to Canada, you will come to that province, you will set up your business, you will establish your business, you will do every single thing that you have said in your business performance agreement with the province. Once you have done that, the province will audit, will check. If everything is all fine, everything they're happy about, they will give you the nomination. Once you get the nomination, you will apply for your permanent residence. Permanent residence is a paper application. In this case, again, and the paper application, I'm sure most of you already know, will take anywhere between 2 years approximately, right? So the total process time for this business entrepreneur program, as I just explained to you, will go anywhere from the time you file your expression of interest, including getting accepted, invitation to apply, work permit, coming to Canada, setting up your business, blah, 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 blah. You're looking again at 4 to 5 years minimum, on an average. That is what you're looking at. Now, you're all scratching your head. So what are all these guys talking about? Now, then there is another program, right? But that is not an immigration program, mind you. It's called owner-operator program. Owner-operator program is a loophole program. Okay, now when I'm saying loophole program, what do I mean by that? Owner-operator program was never ever meant to be an immigration program. It is a work permit program. It basically allows an individual to start a business in Canada or buy a business in Canada. Because that person has bought the business and that person wants to come to Canada and run, operate, manage that business, that person can apply for an LMIA, Labor Market Impact Assessment, because he's the owner operator for the same company. If he is given or if he is approved an LMIA with NOC 00, 0014, 0015, 0016, the most common ones, then he will be able to come to Canada on a work permit. Now, because he has an LMIA with approval of NOC 00, along with a job offer letter from his own company, okay, in combination of these two, he will be able to claim 200 points in the CRS score on Express Entry. So if this person already has, say, 300 CRS because he couldn't score much in IELTS, age, or whatever you want to call it, now with these 200 points, his score becomes 500. He will get an invitation to apply in the next draw whenever it happens. And based on that, he can submit his PR application. All right. So the total process time from buying a business, starting a business, getting an LMIA, Express Entry, approximately give or take 1.5 years. So this is what they're talking about. Now, is it easy to come through owner operator? The short answer is no. And the reason for that is, in the recent past, so many people have been abusing the system, owner operator, right? They created shell companies just for the namesake. They created a company and said, okay, this person will come and set up a business. It has backfired like you cannot imagine, right? All these people who have been filing these applications by saying, okay, invest 50,000 and this will happen. It's not happening, my friend. In the worst case, if you have bought a business, you will get NOC 0. NOC 0 is for 50 points only, which basically means if you can get at least 430, if you can get 430, then yes, by all means, set up a small business. Maybe you will get NOC 0, and with that NOC 0 LMIA, you will be able to claim 50 points, get your 480, and then get through with it. Keep in mind, even if you come on this work permit in Canada, you cannot claim points for Canadian work experience because you will be coming to Canada as a self-employed. You are the owner operator of your business. You cannot claim points for work experience, all right, in Canada. So a lot of these people will not explain this to you, will not tell you what is needed. It is a complicated application. It takes much more than just saying pay 50,000 and come to Canada. It is not going to work like that. You will probably end up losing all that money as well. So be very smart, be very careful, ask a lot of questions, ask exactly how it's going to happen, do your research. Unfortunately, not much information is available on owner operator programs, but do not jump into it without understanding that this can be really, really difficult. Don't take it like a walk in the park. It will need significant investment. I personally suggest that you should be looking at a business which is at least that you have to invest at least 200, 250, 300,000, $350,000 in a business. That business should have been operating for at least 2 to 5 years before you buy it. That business should have enough revenue, not profit. That business should have enough revenue that justifies that you will be able to draw a salary at all. That business should have multi-layered management structure. That means that just one employee or two employees at minimum wages is not going to work, because you will not be able to get 00 knock code for that. Okay, so there are several things that go into this application. Please do not fall into wrong traps because of that by seeing all those fancy ads. Okay, so we have covered business immigration, we have covered self-employed, we have covered this, we've covered that. Let me just close all these windows that I've opened. Now, let's get on to some questions, and we will get some interesting questions now. Now, before I get into that, let me cover the recent updates. Okay, the first update which happened yesterday, which caused lots of interesting flutters, and that was that international students will be able to come to Canada starting from October the 20th, which is good news. I mean, finally, we can see some relief for some people out there. However, there is a caveat there, right? That first of all, that in order for you to be able to come to Canada, first of all, that college or the university needs to have COVID preparedness plan, and it should be approved, or it should be as per the provincial authorities. So if your college does not have a full-fledged COVID preparedness plan and not approved by the province or authorities, you, my friend, will not be able to come to Canada. Second caveat, or a bigger one there, is that it still applies to people whose documents were approved before the March of 18th. So 18th of March, before you were approved, you can now come. There hasn't been any change in that yet. We do expect more. We do expect more information, more details, more changes on this by 8th of October, I'm told. And until such time, before we jump the gun and start making all those big videos that you are now seeing on YouTube, hey, everybody come, Canada now, okay, international students, yalla, come, everybody, okay. So don't fall into that. It's still not that easy. A lot of people have now become anti-student because they say, oh, why students, why not PRs, So it's not happening yet. As we all know, VFS is still closed. Borders are still restricted. A lot of people who have got approvals in principle, the first stage approval, they still cannot do their biometrics, so they still can't get their visas stamped. As I said, VFS is still closed. I'm talking about India in majority, and I'm sure there are other countries where VFS is also closed or restricted in the way they're operating. So it's not really a free open doors for students yet. Still, there are more announcements to be made, but I'm only hoping, fingers crossed, that if they are opening doors for students, and I'm sure a part of it is because the education lobby in Canada has been really pushing the government to open up, because hey, I mean, education is huge multi-billion-dollar business in Canada. Because of students, lots of other businesses also make money, or they have their livelihoods depend. I mean, accommodation, food, transportation, auxiliary services, support services, everybody that supports the student community in Canada in terms of businesses, they have all been affected. Hello, I mean, the rentals in Toronto have dropped like nobody has ever heard before, because there are no students. So I'm sure they want the students to come back. Students do contribute in a huge part to the economy. But have they opened the borders? I don't think so. Actually, I think we are already closed until November. That's what I'm hearing right now, that even until November, the borders are not going to open. And if that's the case, then you will still see a lot of hit and miss kind of situations as far as what the exemptions are and how they will be processed and lifted. But yeah, so wait till the 8th of October before any student out there is jumping the gun and thinking, okay, it's a free all now and we can all come to Canada. I don't think it's that easy yet. But yes, at least some positive news, something to look forward to, something to sort of gear up towards and say, okay, something out there is happening. Krunal, I am not mocking Desi YouTubers, my friend, but unfortunately, that's what we see. But and yes, that's how it is happening. But yeah, so let's hold our horses before I start, or rather anybody starts making YouTube videos and saying, okay, yes, everybody comes into Canada. That aside, let's talk the next one about VFS. Honestly, I have no idea what the hell is happening out there. Okay, why is it that some VFS are open and some VFS are closed? I don't know. Why is it that the VFS in UAE is open but it remains closed in India? I don't know. There is a certain understanding which I can agree with, and I have some understanding or the sense of it. And one of the reasons possibly is because, okay, take a look at this way. Canada is not opening its borders. They have already said COPRs issued after 18th of March cannot enter Canada as of now, right? So for example, if they do start issuing PPRs, they start issuing COPRs. So you open up the VFS, you will apply for your, you've got your PPR, you will apply for your passport stamping COPR, you will get it. And after that, you obviously cannot enter Canada because Canada hasn't really lifted its border restrictions. So what's going to happen? Your COPR is going to expire or will very soon, come to expiry, and then you will want it to be renewed again, extended again. And then again, you'll have to go back to VFS. Again, you'll have to go back to the Canadian embassy, get it extended. So I think they're trying to avoid that situation where they have to go back and forth, trying to extend again, give further, extensions to anybody out there. Whether we like it or we don't like it, or whoever wants to disagree or agree on that, it doesn't really matter. But India does contribute a huge portion of students, a huge portion of permanent residents, a huge portion of work permit applicants, a huge portion of visitors. So all of them are affected. And probably one of the reasons why they are holding back as far as VFS in India is concerned. Because apart from that, I don't see any other reason why they will not restart VFS. Because the only other reason would be that you are going to issue the visas, but you cannot let people come in, right? So what's the point of issuing those visas? Because the expiries will happen. Apart from that, I really can't think of any other reason. Now, when will VFS open? Again, nobody knows, because all they have been doing is tweeting once in a while and say, okay, hello guys, okay, next month also closed, huh? Closed, next month closed, go. What? Give some more concrete plan, give some understanding. I know so many of you out there who have their COPRs expired. You may have left your jobs, you may have resigned, you may have got your children out of the school, you may have given up your lease, you may have sold your houses, your assets, etc., ready to come to Canada, and this happened, right? Now, what do? Your COPRs are not getting extended. Canada says, okay, give me a detailed plan and I will extend your COPR. You give that, and again they go quiet. So what I personally have, and I'm ranting about, is that give a plan. COVID has now been around for 6-7 months. It is not going to go away. The way we know it, it's not going anywhere. Vaccines are not coming, no matter what the bloody media gives you and the hype that they create. Vaccines are nowhere in the horizon as of right now. At least I don't see it. Forget about what media says. So for a fact COVID is going to be around for at least next few months. It has been around for the last 6-7 months. It should have given you enough time to plan. What the hell are you guys going to do? Because CIC is still issuing ITAs, which is a good thing. I'm not against that, to be very honest, right? It's a good thing, because if they had stopped issuing ITAs, can you imagine where the scores would skyrocket to? So it's a good thing that they're issuing ITAs, all right? I'm also happy that they actually started doing all program draws. I'm extremely ecstatic that they're issuing 4,200 ITAs per draw. That is just mind-blowing. 12,600 ITAs issued only in September. Wow. But all these people whose ITAs they are issuing, all these people will very soon submit their applications. Then they will be waiting for their biometrics. Then they'll be waiting for their PPRs. Can you imagine the backlog that is creating in the visa offices, right? CIC announced that they will increase the staff by 66% to handle only spousal applications, because there's so much of pressure on family reunification, right? Because one part of that couple, the partner, is a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, and we have been creating lots of noise. So they gave into that and said, okay, by the end of the year of 2020, we would have processed 49,000 spousal applications, okay, or sort of finalized them or given them some sort of result. So if you can do it for spousal applications, why can't you do it for others? I mean, everybody is affected, and I can understand that they have priorities. Canada has always had family reunification on top of its priorities, right? So if you ask what is more important for them, economic immigration, business immigration, refugees, healthcare program, I mean, healthcare supporters, for them, always family reunification has always been on the top. So I can understand the priority, but why treat everybody in such a manner where there is not even an understanding of what's going to happen? Give a bloody response and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Fair enough. Once you tell everybody that this is what you're going to do, give a date, give a time, and then everybody can live with it or work their lives around it. But every month we wake up and, on the 21st of, I mean, so closer to the 21st of the month, you hear US border closed. Closer to the 30th of the month, you will hear international borders closed. And hey, VFS is going to remain closed for one more month. I mean, I don't want to sort of lose my cool here and sort of say things which I don't want to. But that is what is the situation there. Okay, Abhishek Paul, thank you so much. I appreciate your contribution. Advice for study permit proof of fund using personal loan. We'll just come to that in a bit. All right. Now, the next one that I want to take after, so I've finished my rant. I've talked about the update with the VFS. I've talked about the update with the spousal and the update with the student. No more updates. Now, questions open. Let's see what you guys want to ask, and we will. I'll tell you this now. It's 1:20, so I've already been speaking for the last 50 minutes, and I gave a lot of rant as well. So apologies if somebody got offended, and if you did get offended, then it sucks, right? All you do is press the exit button, and you can go and watch a more appealing dance show somewhere else. But if you're here to understand what exactly is going on, then stick around, because today's session, I'm really going to spend some time here. I'm not going to end it in 1 hour. I'm not going to end it in 2 hours. I will stick around here and answer most of the questions until I start getting hungry and I have to go and grab my lunch. So until such time, I will, and I just had my breakfast, so I don't have a problem with sticking around for a couple of hours and making sure I take on as many questions as possible, right? So the first one I will get is for my dearest person who even thought of contributing. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Advice for study permit proof of fund using personal loan. So Abhishek, personal loans by itself is not a problem. All right. Now the issue with the IRCC is that you can take student loan, you can take personal loan as long as you have the funds available to meet your tuition fees. As long as you have funds available to meet your living expenses in Canada, you should be all right. Now with personal loan comes the factor of how are you going to repay your personal loan? Because one of the reasons you usually get a personal loan is because you already have an employment wherever you are working, whichever country you are. So one of the reasons you get a personal loan approved is based on your income and that your ability to pay back. Now, when you say that you will no longer be working, but you will be coming to study in Canada, then your financial stability becomes into a question, rather comes under a scanner. I would say avoid personal loan. Get a student loan instead, because student loan is not a problem. It's always, Canada accepts student loan. They don't have a problem with it. Personal loan, there is no specific objection to it per se, but it sort of puts a lot of question mark on the financial ability and how you're going to repay that money while you will be studying in Canada. And that sort of sometimes brings up a question mark on whether you'll be able to afford, because that personal loan may not cover your entire duration of your studies, right? It may just cover a portion of it. And sort of then it puts a question mark as to will you be able to cover the entire tuition fees or not. Avoid it if possible. If not, go for a student loan. That is always a better bet. All right. Ankur Bhatiani says, can an exploratory visit happen on a tourist visa for owner-operated program? Yes, Ankur. Exploratory visit can happen only on a visit visa. All right. There is no other visa for an exploratory visit. So yeah, by all means, do your exploratory visit. Exploratory visit is also a requirement for specific provincial level entrepreneur programs. For example, Manitoba needs an exploratory visit. Ontario gives you additional points if you have done an exploratory visit. New Brunswick gives you additional benefit for exploratory visit. British Columbia rural this entrepreneur program also requires that you come and meet the community decision makers before they endorse you. So yes, exploratory visit is extremely important. Okay, Dhruv Patel says, if I have done job as an employee in my own company, now can you see the contradiction there? How can you do a job as an employee in your own company? You can't. All right, even if you have given yourself salary, you are an owner. Okay, you are self-employed. You cannot be an employee in your own company. The very fact, if you try to do this, if you try to show yourself as an employee in your own company, it's going to be a problem. All right, please do not do that. Please do not make that mistake. If you have any shareholding in your company, if you are a partner, director, anything in your own company, please, show yourself as self-employed, provide documents and proof as self-employed. There is no harm. There is no problem with it. That will just work very, very well. All right. Rishabh Chattopadhyay says, big fan of your speaking skills. Thank you so much. Okay, fair enough. Am I blushing? No, thank you. Okay, please tell us about AINP developments. When can we expect EE to reopen? And also keep the great work. Good vibes. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, Rishabh, with AINP, I assume you're talking about Alberta Immigration Nominee Program or Immigrant Nominee Program. Now, Alberta, what did they do? Alberta, the Premier of Alberta, in order to show support for all the people during the COVID for his province, they have gone ahead and made some changes. They restricted the LMIA processing for certain category of workers within the province. They also restricted the provincial nominee program, whereby PNP said that they will only accept nomination applications, or they will only process nomination applications for people who are living currently inside the province. So they will not accept applications, or they will rather not process nominations for people who are not living in Alberta. It was a big thing because a lot of people were still getting their invitations. A lot of people were in the middle of processing, and unfortunately their applications were stranded. They did not get processed. So it was a huge difference that it made. Not only that, they reduced the quota of PNP from 6,000, I think it was 6,200, if I don't remember correctly. They reduced it from 6,200 approximately to 4,000. They actually reduced it and reduced it by quite a lot, right? So as of right now, there is no news as to when they will reopen it for everybody else, just like in the normal days. Fingers crossed, but I would expect this to be in place for at least a year, if not more. Okay, so yeah, nothing great to sort of happen, but it is what it is. I can understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to protect the interests of people in Alberta, and they absolutely have the right to do that. I know it comes as quite a disappointment for a lot of other people. So Kush, I think that also answers your question. And okay, Sheikh says, I was hired through an agency for company. An agency is based in US but have CAD office in Halifax. I am working in Ontario. You're working in Ontario, offices in Halifax, letter of employment, companies in US. Okay, there's a big mix-up of things over here. If you're working in Ontario, I'm not sure what work permit you're here on, Sheikh. The company that pays your salary should give you the offer letter. Okay, it's as simple as that. Now, if you have an office in Canada and if your work experience is Canadian, then you should get your reference letter from your Canadian office. That is the most opportune. In addition to your reference letter, please provide record of employment, notice of assessment, and your T4 and pay stubs. That is the most important factor. And okay. Shah Alam says, regarding self-employment stream, I am a sound designer in movie industry with 10 years experience. How much liquidity amount in bank should be shown and how much of property-based assets should be shown suitably? Okay, if you're trying to apply for self-employed stream, immigration stream, you don't need to really show that much of property or assets, etc. There is a very simple requirement of proof of funds. As long as you can maintain that, which is not much, which is almost similar to what anybody else would be required. I'm just trying to figure out what exactly, do they have a different requirement of proof of funds? No, they don't. Nope, I can't see anything here. No, you don't, my friend. You don't need to show your property. There is no requirement to show your property. Absolutely not. They're not looking for your net worth. They're only looking for your proof of funds if you can provide. or not to sort of support your settlement once you come to Canada. All right. Okay. Sunil Bhatnagar says, I'm working full time for another employer in a different field while on paid vacation with current employer. Wow. Okay. I mean, a lot of funny things come to my mind when I'm reading that, but let's restrict that. So, there is an overlap of time period of 6 months? Can I count both experiences? You cannot count both experiences because CIC does not consider work experience more than 30 hours per week for any given period of time. So if you're working full time for both these employers, you really cannot claim points for both. I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to say that I worked in the 6 months, I worked for 2 companies, so the 6 months period will become 1 year period? It can't, right? So think about it. So mention one work experience in your work history, the other work experience goes to your personal history. You cannot claim both. All right. Azhar says, thanks for the question. Okay, which PG diploma course of 1 year valid for points in express entry? Does spouse need LMIA exemption after 1 year work permit expires for job offer? I didn't. Okay, am I reading it correctly? Which PG diploma course of 1 year valid for points? Well, any postgraduate diploma which can get a positive evaluation from IRCC is valid for, which it is valid for express entry. So there's no problem with that. If you're talking about postgraduate diploma in Canada, then what you should do is you should go to the CIC website and search for DLI, which is Designated Learning Institutions. Now, those are the only institutions if you study in these institutions, then you are eligible to get claim points and apply for a postgraduate work permit if that institution and that program is eligible for postgraduate work permit. All right. So please check CIC website for that because obviously there are so many colleges and programs. So as long as this program is for 1 year validity, when I'm saying 1 year, it could also be 2 semesters. Each semester is 4 months. So it could also be an 8-month program, but it will still give you points for 1 year of study. So please check the CIC website for DLI. If the institution is DLI and if it is eligible for postgraduate work permit, then you will get your points for your education, as well as you will be able to apply for postgraduate work permit. Now, does spouse need LMIA exemption after one year work permit expires for a job offer? I honestly don't understand that question. If you're applying as a postgraduate student and you're applying for your spouse, then it's an open work permit. You don't need LMIA. So if you're studying in Canada and you're applying for your spouse as a dependent, again, you don't need an LMIA. LMIA is only needed when you have no spouse in Canada who's currently studying or working, and you need an LMIA is automatically a closed work permit. Okay, so that's about that. Ravi Arora, thank you so much. Appreciate it. You're so kind. Okay, Manmeet Singh. Currently working in Ontario doing NOC C, and my plant manager promised me to provide letter of NOC B. We're already talking misrepresentation, my friend. But now he's deferring my request by saying HR is working on letter. Well, honestly, Manmeet, nobody can do anything in that situation. First of all, what you're asking by itself is misrepresentation. If you are doing NOC C, but you are asking your employer to give you NOC B letter, and so basically you're asking them to give you a document only on paper that you are working, only on paper you are doing this job, but actually you are not doing that job, right? Misrepresentation, my friend. If you get caught, 5 years ban is what you will get, and your company could also be in trouble. So I can understand why they are not choosing to give you at this point of time. Kumar Krishnan, thank you so much. Appreciate it, my friend. Madeep says, please mention how high commission is prioritizing study visa applications as March applicants are still waiting for results. Good question, Maheep, but honestly, I don't know. And the reason I don't know is because there is no way to say what is the chronology they are following when they're getting the applications. To be very honest, my company applied for a study permit application and we got an answer in 3 weeks. And for another application, we got an answer in 6 weeks. I was quite surprised because I was expecting the process time to take much longer, and both of them were from Indian visa office. So to be very honest, what is the priority of the study visa applications and how they are prioritizing? I wish I could give you the answer. Usually, it should be. I mean, if you applied a paper application, it usually takes longer. Online application goes faster. It also gets distributed between the various visa offices in India. It could go between Chandigarh, Bangalore, Chennai, not sorry, and New Delhi, and depending on who is processing, depending on their backlogs, depending on how long were they closed for COVID. So, for example, if your visa application was assigned to the Bangalore visa office, and Bangalore, for example, was closed for due to COVID for a longer duration of time than the Chandigarh visa office. So you could see a difference in the process time. But again, it's not a clear answer, but unfortunately, I really do not know what else to tell you, because there is no specific information of that sort available in public domain. Ankur, thank you very much. Under which category of visa an Indian company set up branch in Canada to market or sell Indian real estate? Well, there are two things that you could do. You could set up a branch of your company in Canada, and that would come under and basically apply for your visa under, I mean, ICT. Now, if you were to try to do that, then the company structure must remain the same, and your parent company should also have significant, revenue turnover, sort of, to not to justify, but to sort of explain that now that you're opening an office in Canada, why do you need an ICT or intra-company transfer for a key executive? In principle, it's not very difficult at all. You can definitely start a company in Canada as a branch office. Try and maintain the same formation or a company structure as in the ownership. All right. Farooq says, I'm in late 30s, previously applied in SINP and have EE profile. What are the chances as student under SDS? I heard that people of my profile will never get student visa as there is immigration history in IRC. Incorrect, sir. Incorrect. Absolutely incorrect. And the reason why I'm emphasizing that incorrect is because there is no, there is no data to support what you're saying, that if you have a profile in SINP, if you have an EE profile, that you will not get it by any chance. First of all, Canada accepts, allows, and validates dual intention. Now, dual intention basically means that you do intend to reside in Canada, or you do intend to apply for permanent residency in Canada, and you also have intention of applying for temporary resident visa, and that you will comply the requirements of temporary resident visa while also having intention of applying for permanent residency if you are eligible and can qualify. All right, so absolutely not a problem. If you feel that your existing profile is going to make an issue, you are absolutely within your rights to address both the intentions, give ample reason to justify your application for study visa, provide documents, provide valid supporting letters in support of your study in Canada. Very, very important. So guys, okay, now it's a good question. So let's go a bit more into what is SOP and statement of purpose and the purpose behind SOP. All right. Just catching my breath. Give me a moment. Now, in statement of purpose, let me backtrack a bit. On an average, a visa officer will spend no more than 4 to 5 minutes on a study permit application. Absolutely no more, because of the number of study permit applications. All right. Now, historically from India, the rejection rate or refusal rate for study permit application is almost 38%, right? And for certain other countries like Pakistan, a lot of countries in Africa, the rejection refusal rate is significantly higher. Okay. There are some other countries, for example, Syria, for example, Myanmar, for example, Mongolia, and certain other countries where the refusal rate could even be higher than that, right? And obviously a lot of things are being considered when they refuse the application, because one of the basic refusal reasons is that the person will not return back to their home country after having completed their studies or after their legal stay. Now, in that 4 to 5 minutes that you have, you need to sort of prepare your application in a manner which will scream and shout at the visa officer and tell him, hey, I am the genuine person, take me, approve me. Your application literally has to dance. Okay, your application has to be prepared in a manner. So just think about it, right? A visa officer, the law is clear. The law is very, very clear, and it tells you what has to be done. Now, you are a visa officer, you will read the law and you will interpret it and apply it. Now, that is where the subjectivity comes. Now, if I'm having a good day, if I'm having a really brilliant day, I've read the law and I'm feeling really nice. It's a nice summer day, and I have a good time and blah blah blah, and I'm looking forward to my evening, and I will my approval rates are going to be automatically quite higher because my subjectivity is going to be on the positive side versus me having a bad day, negative day, and then can you imagine the assessment? All right, there is a subjectivity involved, there is a feel involved. Visa officer says, I feel this person will not go back. What makes you feel that, my friend? There is no answer to that. Okay, so there's a lot of feel. The candidate A and candidate B, they could have same documents, same age, same college, same qualifications, same proof of funds, everything same. Candidate A will get approval, candidate B will get rejection. What is the reason? Two different officers have assessed these documents. One person says, I feel this person is a bona fide student. Second officer says, I feel this person will not go back. I mean, what the hell? What is that feeling from? But there is no clear answer. There is no clear definition. Therefore, it is your responsibility to make a good application. As I said, I keep saying this to my team as well, that you should make an application so that it starts dancing in front of the visa officer. It becomes attractive. It sort of screams and shouts and says, this is the reason why I have to be approved. So you have to go into the visa officer's head and start thinking that if they see your documents, will they have a reason to refuse your application? All right. Therefore, also, if you have had a past refusal, always understand the reason for refusal and then reapply for your study permit application. Therefore, statement of purpose is extremely important. So in that 4 to 5 minutes, the visa officer is going to glance through your application, check whether you have the acceptance letter, check whether you have the proof of funds, check your previous mark sheets, your certificates, your IELTS, academic results, etc., your GIC. He's going to glance through this, and then he's going to come to statement of purpose and read through it. If your statement of purpose is 10 pages, you may as well throw it out of the window because that guy has got no patience to go through 10 pages. Keep it no more than 2 pages, 3 pages at best. If you really have a lot of information to sort of add. Your past education, your gap, if you have, your work experience, your accomplishments, they all need to be highlighted. Then, most importantly, why Canada? Why this college? Why this program? Does this program, is it in line with your past studies and work experience? Have you had gaps? What was the reason why you discontinued study? What is the reason why you are now choosing to study? Why are you looking to study in Canada? And one very important factor I include there is that I say that the quality of education is totally different. The quality of faculty members is totally different. The quality of teachers is different. The better teachers make for better learning experience for me. Better learning experience gives me better exposure. I become a better individual who can perform better in my job, who gets better work experience, who will then have better exposure or better career, and all this better, obviously by using, paraphrasing and using more, better work, not better, using the synonyms and, making it. So you will have to dress up your SOP, you will have to make it dance. And once you're able to do that, trust me, you will get an approval. Okay, there is no other way but for you to get an approval. All right. Okay, long one there. But by giving you a long answer, I may have answered several other questions. That is, and I apologize if I'm boring you to death with some of my rants and answers. But what I'm trying to do is I'm also looking at several other questions and I'm trying to include the answers for them in my question and my answer as well, right? Anime says EB3 US visa dates moved ahead. So do you believe many folks will stay in US before we're considering for Canada Express entry? What's your take on US green card rates moving rapidly for Indians? Well, from my personal experience of several people who I interact with, who are our clients as well, people have been shaken up. People have been shaken up with lots and lots and lots of things that have been happening with the United States. They have been shaken up because they may have spent 10, 12, 15 years already in the US. Okay, green card is nowhere in sights. If at all they even feel that this may happen soon enough, they still want a backup plan. Okay, and what better backup plan than Canada? I know of several people who have already secured or obtained their permanent resident application approval from Canada. They have even done their landed immigrant entry but they're holding on to the US dream or the US option. All right. At some point of time, they will have to decide between this one and that. But do I see this making a difference? Well, no. On the contrary, after the first debate, as has been brought about by so many media channels, that the number of people who started searching how can I immigrate to Canada from the US, it sort of spiked up crazy. So you can see there is a lot of apprehension in the US, whether it's political, whether it's economy, whether it's the job market, whether it is the visa restrictions, whether it is the travel restrictions, whether it is the COVID, plain and simple, or how things are happening. There is a lot of issues which are creating that problem, right? So a lot of people want a second option. A lot of people are not convinced that this Canadian dream will be finalized to a situation where they will be able to secure the citizenship eventually, or before that, much before that, the bigger challenge, which is of a green card. So to be very honest, it doesn't really make any difference to Canada, because the number of people who want to come to Canada is far, 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 far more than Canada can afford to invite, right? So as far as people in US is concerned, if they do not choose to come to Canada, it's they who are losing out on it, right? So if you have the option, if you have the chance, if you have the scores, you should opt, if not for taking it outright, but at least as an option, because you never know what exactly is going to transpire or happen in the US, and whether you will reach your goal for the green card whenever you're planning it would happen or not. Okay. Praneet says, what job history documents should I furnish if I'm applying as self-employed with knock code 0015 or 621? Well, Praneet, I covered that in detail in the beginning of this video. So by all means, just watch this from the beginning. I have covered that in really, really real details. Okay. So yeah, give it a look. Okay. Jazz Singh, thank you very much. Really appreciate it, my friend. Gaurav says, I was advised by a consultant for knock code 0433 against job duty of girls cadet instructor in National Cadet Corps. But as this job code is not in demand, can she apply for 4021 1221 1241? You were advised, but she can apply. I'm not sure who was exactly applying and who was given that advice. Okay, first things first. Always choose your knock code based on duties and responsibilities. All right, never by the job title. So when you look at the knock code, okay, and let's pull up one, and let's pull up the one you're talking about. Okay, knock code 0433. Okay, commissioned officers of Canadian Armed Forces. Sorry guys, I'm just gonna bring this up so that we can understand what I'm trying to say. Share screen. Browser has blocked my screen. Why is the browser blocking my screen? Share screen, please. No, open. Okay, share screen, select the window. Okay, select the window. Which one is my Google Chrome? There you go. All right. Oh, that's pretty small. Okay, there you go. So I'm just going to take off your. Now, as you see on this particular screen, now this is knock code 0433 as you were talking about, and for commissioned officers in Canadian Armed Forces. Now that is the title, or rather the main group heading. Now after that it says 0433 commissioned officers of the Canadian Armed Forces. So this knock code is already indicating that these are commissioned officers of the Canadian Armed Forces. Plan, organize, command, and evaluate the activities of personnel in the Canadian Armed Forces. All ranks of commissioned officers in the Royal Canadian Air Force, Canadian Army, Royal Canadian Navy are included in this group. It doesn't talk about wherever you are working and whatever you're doing. All right. So please be careful, because after you choose a knock code, the next most important thing is this portion of the knock code. All right. So you were also asking, oh man, I lost your question. Okay, let's look at the other knock code you are referring to. Now, 1221 is administrative officers, right? Now, what is administrative officers? Can you see the difference now? Administrative officers oversee, implement administrative procedures, establish work priorities, conduct analysis of administrative operations, and coordinate acquisition of administrative services, blah, 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 blah. Now, can you see the difference in the two things that we are referring to? I mean, you were talking about 0433 and now you're talking about 1221. I mean, it's like a huge difference already. That is in the summary. Then from there on, the duties and responsibilities. I mean, I don't even see the two even closely matching. So while you can choose, there is nothing wrong with choosing one knock code to another knock code. You have to make sure that you match the duties and responsibilities, or there has to be some resemblance, something to sort of say, yes, this is knock code that you are working under. And your lead statement, the summary under the knock code title, that lead statement defines everything about that knock code. Who are the people? What kind of jobs do they do? Where do they usually work? What is the broad description of their duties and responsibilities? That is how you choose a knock code. So be very careful. Yes, you can obviously change your knock code to the one which may be in demand in a different province, in a different way you wish to apply, but make sure you match it with the job, not really just go with the job title as such. Just because there's a different knock code in demand, can I choose this? It doesn't work like that. If my spouse gets admitted in Canada, will I be allowed to go with her with work permit? Well, Hemba Lan gets admitted in Canada. Well, if your spouse is coming in Canada, if your spouse is coming to Canada on a work permit, if your spouse is coming to Canada on a study permit issued, or rather study permit to study in Canada at a DLI, which is already eligible to provide postgraduate work permit, then yes, of course, you are also eligible. You cannot automatically go with your spouse. You have to apply. So you are also eligible to apply to accompany your spouse, and you can also apply for an open work permit. All right. Okay. Then I was looking for something specific which I missed earlier. Let me look for that again. Okay. Don't seem to find it. Mandeep Kohli says, I am self-employed, age 28. I'm a director in private limited export company, business for 4 years, education BCom, PG in business administration. Knock is best for self-employed people. If you're asking me for a knock, unfortunately, I can't really help you with a knock. That is not something which I can do over broadcast while we are doing this for so many other people. So you will have to go to the knock database, match with the duties and responsibilities that sort of go with your business. But looking at the fact that you are an export company, you could look at corporate sales managers. That is probably something which you could look at and see if those match your duties and responsibilities, and accordingly you will be able to choose that. Okay, and then Vardeep Kaur, great job. What options for CRS 423 knock 2174 other than EE for PR? How fruitful is it to come on visitor visa and search for jobs? Okay. What are the chances for for CRS 423? Unfortunately, as far as the current things, the way things are, not very nice at all. I mean, I would say none at all as far as the score is concerned. As far as PNP is concerned, now the problem with PNPs is that each province has a different program, has a different criteria, will have some sort of different requirements. So you will need to go to individual PNP and see where you're eligible, where you're not eligible. The thing with PNPs is that there are only few PNPs which will offer you a chance without having a job offer. Ontario, of course, everybody knows Ontario and how they offer it. I mean, what kind of a program Ontario offers. But you need high CRS score for that, right? Because they always play in tandem. Next one is Saskatchewan. With Saskatchewan, but they are very finicky. They want your education and work experience to be in the same field. You need to have at least 10 years of work experience in the same knock in order to get sufficient points so that you will be able to get through with them. What else is left? Alberta is not accepting people from outside Alberta. Nova Scotia, category B, has been closed for whenever, and I don't expect it to open. They've been choosing only specific NOC codes from the Express Entry profile. So you can't really rely on Nova Scotia as such. Prince Edward Islands, like a lot of people get fooled with Prince Edward Islands and think that they are very welcoming and they will, you create a profile in their portal and you get invited. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that with Prince Edward Islands as well. It's a small province. They have a small amount of quota. Actually, it's the smallest province, right? So they have a very limited amount of quota. And obviously, they need to give preference to people who are already living, working in Prince Edward Islands, though they don't say it, but that is usually the preference, and that is how they will usually assign their invitations to. Yes, I must say that there are chances at times that you may get picked up by Prince Edward Islands. You may receive an invitation from them. It's a freak occurring, but it has happened. I know a few people who managed to get an invitation from Prince Edward Islands. So don't rule it out completely. Do create your profile with Prince Edward Islands. What does it leave you with? New Brunswick. New Brunswick will conduct information sessions. They will conduct job fairs. Again, if you get invited by New Brunswick, again, a freak occurrence. But if you do, then that becomes an opportunity. But apart from that, what else is there? Manitoba. Manitoba, you need connection to the province. So if you do not have any connection to province, you haven't really previously worked in Manitoba, you don't have any work experience in Manitoba, you do not have know anybody there, so Manitoba is not going to work for you. Doesn't leave you with too many options, right? AIPP, Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, or RNIP, Rural Northern Immigration Pilot Program. Both of them needs job offer rather. So there are not many PNP options for you out there which will give you an option. Now, the next question was coming to Canada on a visitor visa. Now, if you come to Canada on a visitor visa, it obviously makes a big difference in the sense like you can come and search for jobs. Yes, no problem with that. You cannot work, of course, right? Because you're on a visit visa. Don't even think about working, because that would be against the immigration law. And if you do that, then it could be a problem. So you can work, come to Canada on a visit visa. You can search for jobs. You can look for jobs. If you find a job and if your employer is willing to support you in your application. Now, when I say support you, I mean that employer is willing to either process an LMIA for you, or that employer is willing to endorse you for a job. So for example, you go to Nova Scotia and you find an employer there, and that employer is a designated employer under AIPP and is willing to give you a job offer. Well, hello, you can apply for PR under Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. Or you come to Canada on a visit visa, you go to Manitoba, or you go to Saskatchewan, or you go to British Columbia, you come to Ontario, and you can find an employer who is willing to offer you a job and support your application. Then again, there is a good opportunity for you there. So being in Canada on a visit visa and looking for a job and finding something worthwhile is definitely a possibility versus otherwise. So if you're outside Canada, it's that much more difficult. I'm not saying that if you are going to come to Canada on a visit visa, it is going to be a walk in the park. No. Please, don't get me wrong there. It's not a walk in the park. People who are in Canada as permanent residents, even they have huge mountain to climb when it comes to looking for a job or finding a job that they want. So you coming on a visit visa is not going to be any easy either. But you definitely have an advantage over people who are not inside Canada. So yeah, as an advantage, that happens. Plus, when you are looking for a job, you come for an interview with an employer, because you're sitting in front of the employer, rather you're interacting with the employer. There are the chances of you cracking it are much far higher than if you are exchanging messages on email and some chat probably, right? So that basically would be the difference. Now, Rahul says, trying to switch my career and currently unemployed for 8 months. CRS 485, EE timeline is too long. Thinking of applying for student visa. Can I apply for EE with that score when I'm in Canada? Yes, absolutely. Being in Canada doesn't really make any difference if you have a high score. So you could be in Canada on a visit visa, you could be in Canada on a student visa, on a work permit. If you have enough CRS to apply, you absolutely can do that. No problem with it. I mean, with 485, coming to think about it, with 485, why are you even thinking of applying for a student visa? I mean, why? And the reason why I'm asking you why is because applying for study permit in Canada obviously is a daunting affair by itself. Not only that, It's expensive, my friend. I mean, your annual fee is going to be in the range of 15, 16, 17,000 Canadian dollars, and your living expenses anywhere in the range of 10 to $15,000. So why would you do that? Compare that to, I mean, if you really want to study, wait till you become permanent resident. As a permanent resident, you will be paying, one fourth of the fee sometimes. For example, same program costs $5,000 as a permanent resident. Same program costs 16, $17,000 as an international student. So if you have high score, apply for PR, my friend. Don't waste your time thinking of study visa. You study in Canada later on once you become PR, right? Ratina says, I was told to renew my passport if it is still has single status, newly married. How does this impact? Is it mandate? Should I change address? Newly married, I don't have address proof. Ratina, I do not know where you're applying for your PCC from. Are you in Canada? Are you in your home country? But lately, it has become a requirement from PSK, Passport Seva Kendra, and embassies across a lot of Indian embassies across the world, that they are insisting that the spouse or the marital status be updated before you can apply for your spouse for PCC. So if you're applying for your own, you can apply as a single, it doesn't matter. But if you're applying for your spouse and you're declaring yourself as married for your PCC application, then they may insist that you first change your marital status in your passport, and then you can apply for PCC. As far as address proof is concerned, that if you will apply for a new PCC, you will definitely be required to have address proof, because without that, I doubt they will accept your application. So please make sure that you provide the address proof, or rather you have the address proof before you can submit your application. Faizan says, can my wife get a work permit while I continue with my self-employed photography? I don't understand that question. I mean, what do you mean by while I continue with my self-employed photography? I'm sorry, there's just too much of gap in that question for me to understand exactly what you're referring to. Mohammed Siraj says, you were mentioning that we claim points if we have visited Ontario, etc. We have visited Ontario, BC and Alberta in 2018. Can we claim that? Please visit it with my wife and daughter. Mohammed Siraj, I was referring to entrepreneur immigration program for Ontario. They assign you, or they basically have additional points under their grid point for the entrepreneur immigration visas. If you have done an exploratory visit within the last 1 year, you visited in 2018, that may really not be considered valid for any points, all right? And this is specifically for entrepreneur immigration program. Okay, Tarandeep says, my wife travels in Jan on study visa. Then how much time will it take for me to travel? What are the chances of getting spouse visa when applied before the end of first semester? Well, you can apply for an accompanying spouse at any point of time once your wife has the approval. Now, a lot of people say, or rather, a lot of people feel that let the applicant arrive in Canada, let the applicant start studying in Canada, and then you apply. There are different schools of thought. There is no data, there is no reliable statistics to prove which one is better. So at any point of time when you think your wife has reached Canada and you're comfortable to apply for your application, go ahead and apply for it. You will have to provide the same set of documents, whether she's already been there for some time or whether later. Okay. Okay. Sumant says, my age is 45. What are the chances? Please tell. Great question, Sumant. Unfortunately, not a great answer that I'm going to give. Well, the chances are going to be extremely, extremely difficult. You probably have 3 or 4 options. First one, business immigration. As I said, you're not going to like my answer, but yeah, first option is business immigration. If you have the money, if you can qualify, if you are eligible, apply. Second option is study in Canada. Stupid answer from my side, but it is an option. Okay, and I'm giving you options. I'm not saying this is going to work for you sure shot, but it is an option. Study in Canada. I know of people who were much older than you who have obtained a study permit successfully. All right. So yeah, you study in Canada, you come and study in Canada and you get your work permit. You get your work permit, you go work in a province which will give you benefit. For example, New Brunswick, for example, Prince Edward Islands, for example, Newfoundland and Labrador, Nova Scotia. All these Atlantic provinces will give a lot of benefit for people who have been living, working over there. You could also get additional benefit if you were in Manitoba or if you were in one of the rural communities which are running programs under RNIP, right? So once you have completed your period of study, you have your postgraduate work permit, go work in any of these provinces or any of these communities, get a job offer from an employer, and you'll be able to apply for your permanent residence. Third option is take up French, study French as second language. Now, French as a second language, again, not a difficult, no, sorry, not an easy option, but it's an option, and therefore I'm referring it to you. And it all depends on your affinity for languages, and if you are able to, study French and clear the TEF and TCF exam, either any of the language exams, with a satisfactory score, at least CLB 7. Then you may have an option with Ontario under the French speaker stream. You may have an option, you may have a chance with Nova Scotia, who invites people under the French speaker streams. You may have a chance with Quebec under the Quebec Skilled Worker Program. You may also be able to add those important points in your express entry, depending on your other profiles and factor. So yeah, these are mainly your options that you can look at. And the most important option, which again is like a unicorn, you keep looking for it, you can't find it, but yeah, it's an option nevertheless, is find a job offer from an employer in Canada. If you can do that, again, important points for job offer, important points for work experience, and then there is always a possibility of tying it all together. Okay, those were your options. Okay. Ivy says, I have mentioned 2 cities in Saskatchewan in SINP as my work location in work history and later got nomination. Now in EE, should I put it in the same way or create separate job for 2 cities? In EE profile, I mentioned one earlier. I'm not really sure what we're talking about. Okay, so all right, so you're talking about, so you have worked in different locations for the same employer. Now if it is the same employer, you may mention the last city that you worked in. You can add a cover letter or letter of explanation to your work experience documents explaining that you were working in a different city at a different point of time, and it's the same employer, same terms and conditions, so it should not be a problem. All right. Priya says, as a 25-year-old with 1.5 years of experience with current score of 440, is it better to go for PNP or go abroad for study, work in Canada, then apply for express entry? As a 25 years, 1.5 years of experience, well, it just means that you need to get more experience. Probably if you get another 1.5 years of experience, your score might jump up. So again, it all depends on what is your affordability. So can you afford to come to Canada to study? If the finances is not an issue, you can look at option of studying in Canada. Better to go for PNP. Now, when you ask me a question of better to go for PNP, it's not like PNP is waiting to invite you with its arms open. Come. No, PNP is as difficult as any other program as of right now. And there are so many people waiting to get into a PNP program. And which PNP are we talking about? Are we talking about Saskatchewan? You might not even be eligible with only 1 year of work experience. May not be. I'm not saying you are not. I'm saying you may not be. Are we talking about Ontario? Your scores are too low. Are you talking about Nova Scotia? We don't know your knock code. Are you talking about Alberta? Alberta's not in. So which PNP are you referring? So you see how quickly the options start thinning down and vanishing out of the window. So you're 25 years old. You have another 4 years before your scores start dropping. So within that 4 years, if you can get additional work experience, and that may take your points up, go with that. Take up French if you want, and these two together will be enough to shoot your scores up versus thinking about PNP or studying in Canada. Studying in Canada, as I just said, is a very expensive proposition. So if finance is not the issue, yeah, by all means, go ahead and do it. Okay, Ravi says, in case of self-employment in own company, does it... Oh, we just did that. Sorry. Why am I coming back to this question? Why is this question here again? All right. Okay, we already did this. That's surprising. For some reason, the questions are rolling in again. Sorry about that, guys. Ayushi says, my company is not providing job details on letterhead, but the HR is willing to send job details on my corporate email ID. Will that work for OINP? When you say my company is not providing job details on letterhead, well, in today's time, because of COVID, to be very honest, you can get away with a lot of things as far as documentation is concerned, right? So if your company is providing you on email from a corporate ID, yes, you can still use it. It's not a problem. Explain to Ontario or OINP before you submit, saying that because of COVID or whatever the reason is that your company is not giving you a letterhead, if you can provide that information, that email additionally to say that this is the email where they're saying we will not give it to you on the letterhead, and but this is what they have given to me on the email, corporate email. Combine the two, show it to them, prove it to them, and you should be fine. It's not a problem. Okay. Vishal says my CRS is 386. I'm 40 years old. Knock is 6 to 1. My work experience is of 15 years. I reside in India. What are my chances? I don't know the chances, my friend. The reason for that is because I don't remember all the immigration programs on top of my head. I don't remember which province has got which knock code. So what you need to do is you need to check individual provincial website. You need to check their criteria. You need to check their program. You need to check their details. You need to check their knock code in demand list. And then based on that, match it with your scores, match it with your profile, and see where you may have a chance. Based on what you're saying, I think if you have 15 years of experience in the knock 0621, you could take a chance with Saskatchewan. That's what I can think of on top of my head. Is Nova Scotia considering federal files for PR? I received my CSQ in March and applied for PR in June. How long will it take for PR process? I mean, you're asking about Nova Scotia, but then you're saying you got CSQ. CSQ is for Quebec. So you've already applied for PR in June. Why should you be worrying about Nova Scotia considering federal files? Nova Scotia does not consider CSQ. Quebec considers CSQ. And if you already have CSQ, then you've already applied for PR. You shouldn't really be worried about anything at all. I mean, let it just go. Nova Scotia, as of right now, I mean, we haven't really heard of much activity happening from Nova Scotia at this point of time. So don't really know when they will start sending out new invitations and to which knock code at what point of time. Oh, again, wow, why am I getting same questions? Okay, I'm not sure why I'm seeing the same feed of questions. Anyways, Anupam says, when should we expect the next Ontario draw for human capital priority skill under knock code 1111? Okay, don't know because there is no Ontario does not follow any specific trend, or they do not follow any specific schedule on conducting these draws. Well, they have already conducted these human capital draws a lot. They recently conducted a master's PhD stream draw. To be very honest, can't really say when they will conduct the next draw and which stream that would be. Okay, let's talk about chances. I'm sure a lot of people are talking about chances now. As far as Federal Skilled Worker Program is concerned, sorry about that. As far as Federal Skilled Worker Program is concerned, personally, I was extremely surprised and happy at the same time to see 4,200 ITAs being issued draw after draw after draw. So 3 draws. September was an awesome month for Federal Skilled Worker Program, or rather all program draws, because you saw 4,200 being issued 3 times, making a total of 12,600 ITAs in September itself, right? Huge allotment. I don't think ever in the history of Express Entry, in any one particular month, they have issued so many ITAs. Okay, the first time I have seen 2015 is when Express Entry started. Now, why is it such a big thing? It's a big thing is because they're already very close to their annual quota of ITAs that they would have ideally issued under normal circumstances. So what are they trying to do by issuing such high number of ITAs for all program draw? It's obvious. It's absolutely obvious. And this is for people who keep pointing a gun and finger at IRCC that they are the ones who are trying to keep the scores high. I mean, IRCC doesn't care about the scores. IRCC cares about conducting a draw. At that point of draw, so for example, let's say, as of today, there are about 150,000 people in the Express Entry pool. 31st of May, 2017 was the day when the score went rock bottom, 413. It's a day which has been, etched in my head. That particular day, the number of profiles in the pool was only 42 or 44,000 people, right? So when people ask why do the scores drop, or rather why did they drop at that point of time? Because sorry, I saw something and that made me smile. So at that point of time, because there were only 44,000 people, there were only so many number of people who were available over 413. And at that point of time, IRCC decided to do, okay, I will do a draw of 3,000, some 3,700 invitations. The score dropped to 413. Now there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people with scores more than 450, 460, 470. And IRCC, and you have to give them the credit where it is due, right? And they have been issuing large number of ITAs, and I think one of the reasons is that they want to keep everything in check. They want to bring a balance. They want to keep everything in control, because before you know it, if, for example, if today IRCC was going to issue only 3,000 ITAs, my friend, this score would have been, hovering at 480 plus, all right? Because there are so many people with more than 480 as their score. So if they are maintaining only 3,000 as their ITAs to be issued, you can imagine how many people were not going to get through. So, I absolutely applaud the fact that they did issue so many ITAs, and it is their effort to keep the scores in check. But what is it doing, right? You have to give the credit to the fact of how popular Canada has become, how popular the fact of migrating to Canada has become, right? Everybody is now looking at Canada as the first choice, first preference in terms of destination to migrate. How many options are there outside? Australia, New Zealand, United Kingdom, United States, Denmark, Germany, maybe some small countries in the Caribbean, not even in the Caribbean, rather. Actually, there are some off in the Mediterranean, some small countries there. Apart from that, there is nothing out there. Now, let's go through this. United States, do you think you can immigrate to the United States? No, you can't. UK, you think it's easy to immigrate to UK? Of course not. Germany, some people may argue with me on that, but let's say, okay, German, the huge deterrent over there is the language as well, right? You cannot survive easily if you cannot speak the language, right? Denmark, again, small country, but can you immigrate there easily? No. Australia, New Zealand are the other two options. Australia, it's become difficult to get into that, even to be eligible for the program. People who are studying in Australia, they are finding it difficult to get the immigration foothold, and they are looking to migrate to Canada. New Zealand, small quota, small numbers, again, same story, very difficult. Leaves you only with Canada. Canada has such a huge open program, more than 100 immigration programs, simple, straightforward express entry, simple scoring points, simple, straightforward work experience requirements, no requirement of that they will take only doctors and engineers, no requirement that they will take only masters, no requirement that they will only, take people who have certifications, no requirement on the broad spectrum of things. So the first choice, which basically brings them to be one of the most popular, not one of the most popular destination of wanting to come to Canada, or rather wanting to immigrate. Having said that, will the scores drop below 470? Does 465 have a chance? Does 466 have a chance? Now, if they continue with 4,200, which, to be very honest, I don't think they will. At some point of time, they have to put a brake on this, right? Because they cannot afford, think about it. They usually would do 26 to 28 draws in a year. If they were to do 26 draws of 4,200, they would have had to issue 110,000 ITAs. It's not possible, right? They cannot issue that many ITAs, because that would totally shoot the numbers out of the window. I mean, as the quota goes. The annual quota that we expect that IRCC will issue in terms of ITAs for this year is in the range of 92,000 to 94,000 ITAs. And the reason we come to this figure is based on the fact that each successful ITA would mean 2.23 applicants who will arrive in Canada as landed immigrants, and they will then equate to roughly 160,000 immigrants who will arrive in Canada under the economic program. So bit of mathematics there after calculating the rejection refusal ratio. So 92 to 94,000 is an approximate number of ITAs which we expect that IRCC will issue this year. Based on this, they cannot sustain 4,200 ITAs every single month. So what do we expect? I expect to see that number go down. I expect to 4,200 to come down to 3,900, come down to 3,700, come down to 3,500, and probably stick around in that range. The minute they start reducing the number of ITAs, you will see the score either remain frozen in that range. So right now it is at 471, 472. It may remain frozen in that range of 472, 474, and keep hovering in that range, because that is the average number of profiles that enter the pool every 2 weeks with that score. Uh, if they continue with 4,200 kind of numbers, which I hope they do for at least one or two more, draws, then you can see the scores finally breaching the 460 mark. But can it hit 465 at this point of time? I will not bet on that, to be very honest. And the reason is only because the number of profiles in the pool, and you see, it hasn't dropped below 460. What was it, 467 or 469 this year? How many 460s draw did you see at all in the year of 220? I mean, 2020, right? Hardly any. I think there was in the beginning, in January, there was one or two draws, and then in Feb, I don't remember exactly, but that was a time. So you can imagine how many people, how many profiles have been piled up in that bracket. So will it reach 465? It's looking extremely difficult. I mean, they would have had to issue so many invitations regularly, and then and account for the fact of how many new profiles keep entering the pool. 465 is not looking promising at this point of time, at least not with the expectation that they will issue lesser ITAs in the coming time. Will it breach 469? Now that is a possibility. 469 is a definite possibility if they continue with high number of draws. If they start reducing the number of ITAs, then that could also be a bit of a question mark. I'm forever hopeful. I always keep hoping and praying that this happens. And I would love to see 460s being breached, at least in the near future. That would give relief to so many of you out there. If I was you, I would not pin my hopes on them. I would instead do whatever it takes to increase my score. Maybe I'm lacking in one IELTS factor. If I improve that IELTS factor to CLB 10, I'm at 469, I'll come to 472. I'm at 469 with two lacking factors of CLB 10. I will improve my score. I will come to 475. Should I start taking French already? Because it will take me almost 8 months, 10 months, 1 year before I can get enough score. The fact of the matter is that there are enough people out there who can outscore you, who can score better than you. Okay. And as long as the numbers will keep rising, the scores to drop is difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it's never going to happen. I'm not saying it will not happen anyway at all. All I'm saying is, given the data that we see today, given the trends, given the number of ITAs being issued, given the annual quota expected for this year, given the past, given whatever has been happening, COVID, Canada is going under second wave already. It has been announced that Canada is undergoing second attack of COVID, second wave, and expecting a third wave at some point of time. Border restrictions still in place. No sign of COVID vaccine. So many factors which could very easily prompt that they may go back to doing some more CEC draws or CEC specific draws. Again, if they do that, again, all program draws become a question mark. And again, the scores may start hovering up. So lots and lots of factors, lots of variables, lots of elements which we cannot predict, which we cannot speculate. So if I was you, if I was at 460s, I would do anything and everything to bump my score up and get into the 470 plus range, which as of right now looks safer than otherwise. sorry about that if I keep going on and on and on. Krunal says the questions are repeating because people are reposting them again and again, and that's if the questions are selected automatically. I'm sorry about that, guys, but unfortunately I'm trying to take the questions as I see them when they come in front of my screen now. Akram says, big fan, thank you so much. My ECA is Masters, age is 30. If I get 8777, my CRS will be 464. Are there any chances of CRS coming down? We just discussed that. Instead of aiming 8777, aim CLB 10 and you'll be fine. Sami says, big fan, thank you so much. Can you please discuss about construction industry in Canada, best provinces, chances of getting jobs, are certifications important, best tips for resume? Okay, good question, Samji. Let's take this one today. Construction industry. Construction is booming, and in a growing economy, it will always boom, because growing economy means more people means more requirements of infrastructure. More infrastructure would basically mean more construction means more construction jobs, etc., etc. So it's a no-brainer. I mean, why am I even going into that? So yes, construction industry is booming. Even during COVID, construction was regarded as an essential service, and they continued. So it wasn't really a problem. Uh, Certifications, yes, depending on within the construction industry, what exactly are you going to be doing? Certification may be required. Architects, engineers, they all need to be certified. Even as a even as a carpenter, plumber, electrician, even if you're doing those specialized jobs, you need to be certified. You cannot just work as a carpenter, you cannot just work as an electrician. You will need to be certified by the trade regulatory body. Chances of getting a job, well, again, if the industry is booming, then the chances of jobs obviously become better. If you have the right certifications, if you have the right work experience, if you're in the right place, right time, meeting the right people, definitely makes more sense. Best tips for a resume. Now, Canadian resume is different than the resume that you would see elsewhere, is because the more emphasis is on your skill sets, more emphasis is on your accomplishments rather than your personal stuff. Okay, so whether you're married or not, they're not interested. What is your age? They're not interested. Your nationality, they're not interested. Or you shouldn't be mentioning this anyways in your resume. But do highlight your accomplishments. Do highlight your skill set. Do highlight what you can do for that company, and your resume becomes better. I think if you were to just Google Canadian resume formats, you would see plenty of information out there. LinkedIn is a huge. Actually, I don't think much about that platform anymore. It has just become another Facebook, which is not good. But yeah, for some reason, LinkedIn still works for a lot of people in terms of connecting with your professional network and peers. So by all means, if you connect with people on LinkedIn, then you may be able to. So what you can do is, for example, now you're asking me, right? I'm not a construction person. To be very honest, I cannot even drill a hole in the wall. And my wife laughs at me. Like, how difficult is it? Well, I said, so if you do not want your wall to be destroyed, don't ask me to do something. You want to, do something to do with immigration, talk to me. You don't go and talk to a construction person or a carpenter. But so that's the difference, right? Instead of asking somebody who is not from the industry, you should go to places like LinkedIn or any other professional networks, or platform, which are from your occupation, your industry. Connect with people who are already in Canada, in your business, in your occupation, in your industry, and brainstorm with them. Or now the good thing with LinkedIn is that if you do connect with people in Canada, most or rather quite a lot of them will respond to you, as long as you're not asking for a job. People connect with you on LinkedIn, and the first thing is, can you help me find a job, right? So how many people do you think can actually help you do that? It's not going to really work every single time. So connect with people from your professional network, with people who are already in Canada, probably who are doing the same kind of a thing, probably who are better placed, and they will be able to share with you their experiences, their opinions, which would be of much better use to you rather than me telling you what's happening in construction. All right, I hope you get the point. Okay. Yvonne says, I have study visa rejection. Now I'm planning to apply through EE for PR. Well, good idea. Your rejection in study permit or study visa is not going to affect your PR application, if that was the question, because I don't really know what the question is there. Wasim says, is the visit visa possible now? I'm in UAE and natively from India. Well, visit visas is possible. Visit visas are, IRCC announced that they will process visit visa application. However, as of this point of time, because it would be considered as discretionary travel, they may not process it at this point of time. I would suggest to wait for some time and then submit your visit visa applications. Pinak says, very good session. Thank you. I'm glad at least somebody thinks it is, it's a good session. I'm not sure how many of you are absolutely bored or rather not at all, I was just bearing with my rant. But anyways, for whoever is thinking it's a good session, well, I love it. Thank you so much. At least it gives me that much more motivation to continue talking for some more time till I start feeling hungry and then wanting to run for my lunch. All right. Pinak says, what knock is in demand for pharmacy field? Is it mandatory that the education should be in line with the experience for PNP? Right. A good question. What knock is in demand for pharmacy field? I don't really know, because that is something which is variable. It keeps changing depending on the province. Provinces may keep updating their knock in demand. However, I don't expect pharmacy knocks to be in demand significantly. The reason for that is pharmacy is a professional occupation. It's a licensed occupation. You need to have a license in Canada to practice as a pharmacist. Uh, and in order to do that, you will have to pass certain examinations, you will need to go through certain regulatory requirements, and it may not be a quick process. So, the reason why provinces would assign NOCs in demand is so that these people can apply and come and start working and contributing to their province as soon as possible. Now, if you were a doctor, if you were a pharmacist, if you were a dentist, if you were a school teacher, the chances are that all your occupations are regulated. They all need certifications, licensing before you can even practice. Some of you may even get so impatient, frustrated with the amount of time it takes to get those licensing and certification that you may give up your aspiration to pursue that. So because of all these reasons, these occupations are generally not considered to be in demand, or will may not come in demand. And that is what sort of cripples the requirement. However, I don't remember the occupations in demand. There could be a freak chance, or there may be a possibility that your knock is listed in demand, because whether we like it or not, whether you need the certification or not, the fact that you have that background it possibly means that at some point of time you may be able to contribute in that particular industry type at some point of time, right? So yeah, please check the province of interest that you have in, and look at their demand list. Now, is it mandatory that the education should be in line with experience? Well, for some PNPs, yes, it is absolutely mandatory. Saskatchewan, for example, they are very, very specific as to the fact that your education should absolutely be in line with your work experience. They will not accept it otherwise, right? So again, varies from one province to another, and you need to sort of check and see what their requirement is before you can apply to them. Manmohit says, please keep a recording of your session so we can see them again later. You're most welcome, Manmohit. This is on YouTube, so right, this video will be here whenever you want to come and see it. I'm not sure how many of you will want to come and see it again, because it's going to be a long one, and long videos don't usually tend to get a lot of attention. Okay. Why am I not able to see this? Sorry. Okay. Okay. Robin Verma, thank you so much. It says my passport has my first name and surname, and degree has surname, first name, father name. Basically, the sequence is different in my degree. Any problem in West? I don't expect it to be any problem whatsoever. You can simply add a cover letter explaining the scenario. It should not be an issue at all. It's quite common, actually, happens with a lot of people. Okay, Ali says, if our DLI delivers in-campus program remotely cause of COVID, and we have to study 100% of the program from home country, will it be considered an EE? IRCC tweet implied that it won't. Was it? Well, what has been happening is that recently they have been changing the requirements, or making or allowing for exemptions as and how they have been progressing. So they made it very clear that if you were studying your April, or rather your spring, summer, and fall programs online because of the COVID, then that period of study will still be eligible for your postgraduate work permit. They haven't mentioned anything about the January intake. To the extent their last exemption included the fact that if you have completed your entire duration of study of 2 semesters of 1 year program, if you've completed, so basically if you have started studying in the spring or in May, and by the time your two semesters are completed, you already completed them online because of COVID, nothing is happening, then they will still accept it. You will still be eligible for postgraduate work permit. Again, for updates, you will always have to check the website, because of COVID, these updates are happening so rapidly. Sometimes you just sort of lose track of them, and you will always need to check whatever is the most recent update. Manmeet says, I am on my work permit. I have 1 year work experience and my CRS score is 384. I believe my CRS score cannot go beyond 450. Should I move to a different province? If I was in your place, I would not even be asking this question. I would have moved already. It's a no-brainer. I mean, and the reason why it's a no-brainer is because It's better to be in a province which is going to support your application versus being in a province and just waiting and hoping and taking a chance. Don't take a chance. Your work permit is limited. Your allowance for work permit, if you're here on a postgraduate work permit, is limited. You only have so much period of time that you can be in Canada on a work permit for. Make the best use of it. The longer you wait, the more time you are wasting, right? So the sooner you get on with it, the sooner you will be able to start your application process and get on with it. So yeah, absolutely, don't even think about it. Just get on with it. All right. So Hip says, my first job 2011 to 15 was paid in cash. Salary was not taxable. I don't have any government supported documents. How can I satisfy Saskatchewan in that case? By explaining the situation, what you have just mentioned over here, provide a documentation that shows that if you're working for a private company, you do not have any government supported document. Provide a letter from your employer which states that they did provide your salary in cash. Provide salary slips, provide pay stubs, provide a legislation from your government or a printed copy of that which says that your income did not require to file income tax, or that you were not included in the pension scheme. Any of these documents. We've had several clients, or we've seen several cases of people who have cleared through Saskatchewan without any issues, without having provided any government related supported document. So as long as you can explain, as long as you can provide enough supporting documents, Saskatchewan is not, they're not devils, they're not demonic, and they're not waiting only to refuse your application. Give them enough evidence, give them supporting documents, show them why you can provide or cannot provide something, and you should be fine. All right. Okay, Padma says, big fan, thank you. I've submitted my primary code as 0124, but in my work history section for the same profile, I've added 0124 and 4163. 0124 is excluded. I don't understand. What do you mean by 0124 is excluded? Now, if you have chosen your primary knock code as 0124, then this knock code is what will be your foundation to assess your application for eligibility points. Okay, eligibility points, as you know, would be instrumental in your 67 points calculator to check if you are eligible for your federal skilled worker program or not. So if you have chosen 0124 as your primary knock code, it's fine, as long as you have at least 1 year of work experience under 0124 or more. Then you're fine. I mean, if at all with that period of work you are eligible in express entry, so you should not have a problem with that at all. Altaf says, if the Jan 21 study program goes online, can one apply for spouse open work permit from country of origin when the study permit holder has AIP, or can only apply for open work permit when the study permit is stamped? Well, Altaf, because your own study permit is only AIP, it is not even issued. How can you apply for your spouse's open work permit, right? Open work permit is given so that your spouse can accompany you in Canada and can obviously work. But the fact that you're not even in Canada, and the fact that you yourself do not have an approval for study permit yet, how can you apply for her open work permit? Makes sense, right? So, just think about the logic behind it. You right now still do not have your own work study permit, right? Just with an AIP is, yes, it allows you to start studying, but it is not approval. It's not a complete approval. It does not mean that your application cannot be refused. It can still be refused. So wait for you to get your study permit. Once you have yours, then by all means you can apply for your spouse's open work permit. Sunil Sunny says, please answer my query. Well, I will do it. Can I study 1 year course in Canada and then get 1 year work permit, start my own grocery store, small restaurant, convenience, and show as self-employed and ultimately PR? No. And the reason for that is, you can study in Canada, yes. You can get work permit after that, postgraduate work permit, yes, no problem. I mean, of course, if your university, college, and the program is eligible for postgraduate work permit. You can open a grocery store, no problem. You can open a small business, no problem. You can open a small restaurant, no problem. You can be an owner. But your work experience as an owner, as a self-employed in Canada, is not eligible for points under express entry. Okay, so you cannot claim that points for work experience. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Asad says, I'm a business owner in Dubai, but my qualification is high school as per West. So am I not eligible for EE? What are my options? Kubeir the goat. Woohoo! Thank you. Love the hashtag though. Am I not eligible? So to be eligible for EE, being a business owner is not a problem. You could still, you could still claim points, as I explained earlier, for your self-employed work experience. Now, being only a high school graduate may be an issue because you may not get points, enough points for your eligibility. So please check eligibility criteria section. You need to score 67 points or more under the 100-point grid, and they give you, I think, 23 points for masters, 21 for bachelors, and with a high school you will, let's see, how much do you get? Hold on. Okay, I am going to put it up here. There you go. So that's your, okay, I'm just going to remove you from the screen. Sorry. So these are the 6 selection factors, and this also gives you your 67 points grid. So if you score less than 67 points, you won't qualify for, or you're not eligible for the express entry. So you can go to this website. You can just type 6 selection factors CIC. You should come to this particular web page, and this will give you your factors for your IELTS. It will give you factors for your education. See, you can get a maximum of 25 points for education, right? So if you have high school, you obviously will not get enough points just for your education. Same thing for work experience. You obviously can claim 15 points. If you have at least 6 years or more of work experience, you will be able to get 15. Again, depending on your age, you may or may not get enough points. So the culmination of all that, this combination of all this combination of all these 6 factors is what will give you your eligibility points, and I hope that answers your question. So if you have enough points, you will be eligible. Keep in mind, express entry is not only about eligibility. So once you're eligible, you also need to score your CRS ranking scores, right? And in that, if you do not have a bachelor's or a master's degree, then your scores are going to be drastically low, and that would put you at a very serious disadvantage. So yeah, calculate the whole thing in combination so that you can come to a informed decision as to what you want to do. Sorry, Rahul is asking how to change from international express service to standard service in the form for Wes, and also got my reference number. Now, if you already have your reference number, then, and if you already made the payment, then unfortunately you can't do anything. You'll have to continue with it. If you still have the option, then edit it, go back into the form, make the changes, and then submit the payment. Pratik, thank you so much. I have received biometrics instruction letter. My passport is expiring 21. Should I renew my passport before biometrics or after? Well, renew your pasta. I was saying renew your pasta. This is what happens when you keep speaking for so long, right? For more than 2 hours now. So yes, your biometric instruction letter you've already received. So what I would suggest is that you continue with your biometrics. After you've completed your biometrics, then go and renew your passport. Once you've renewed your passport, provide a new passport copy to IRCC using a web form and let them know that you've changed your passport, and you're good. You will be fine. Abdulaziz says, I'm 34, best province for studying with respect to PR options. Well, best province, in my opinion, my personal opinion, is not Ontario. That's the first thing. And the reason why it is not Ontario, because Ontario has only one stream which supports education. That's actually 2 streams. One is your master's and PhD. So if you're not studying master's or PhD, you could be under the international graduate. Under the international graduate, you need employment. I mean, you need a job offer. Master's PhD stream, that means you have to complete a master's program or a PhD program in Ontario, so you can apply. And again, it's a hit and a miss. For example, the program opens like it did open within the last week, and it closed like this, right? So again, you have to be lucky. What can you do? I would suggest going to any of the Atlantic provinces. Okay, they tend to give you more preference. They tend to give you more options, or go to Saskatchewan or Manitoba. Or any of this works. Now, British Columbia also has good programs now, but all their programs somehow, except for one, needs a job offer. All right, so do take a look at that and see if it makes more sense. Now, going to provinces like the Atlantic provinces, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Islands, New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, Manitoba, Saskatchewan. If you were to go and study in these provinces, one, the cost of education is lower than Ontario, British Columbia. Okay. Number 2, the cost of living expenses will also be lower because, hey, I mean, Ontario is more expensive. British Columbia is definitely more expensive. So studying in these provinces will obviously be cheaper. And not only that, check their provincial nominee programs. Check their programs to see what they are offering for a graduate, what they're offering to an international graduate who's done a diploma, somebody who's done a master's. If there is a specific PNP program that you can apply immediately after completing your education, or if getting a job offer, is the only criteria. Most of them have some, I won't say exemption, but has some sort of a program which encourages people who have who have studied, and after having studied, got their postgraduate, and then worked in the province. So they give a preference. So I would always suggest, if PR is your objective, then always choose a province which will give you options to study, or rather give you options to get into their to apply for your PNP program with them. I'm already now losing a bit of my attention there. Sorry about that. So yeah, that would be the way to go. Gaurav says, I want to consult you for immigration. Okay, you are most welcome to come to our website, askkubeir.com/premium-services. You can check what we charge. You can check if you want to use any of our services, avail our services, or make an appointment. You're most welcome to do that. Okay, thank you for that. Prabjot says, can we change job after getting ITA and put the new job details to the personal history instead of work history? Also, we need to update the current employer with an end date in the work history. Absolutely, you can. There is no problem with it. As long as that particular job was not in Canada and you are not claiming job offer points for that particular job, there's no problem. After getting ITA, if your current job has ended, terminated, you're not working, you've resigned, you can put an end date. Your new job you can show in the personal history. It doesn't matter. You don't need to provide any documents for the job in the personal history, and you're good to go. Harpreet says, post ITA, I have filed for application and waiting for their response, and not an non-accompanying wife as of now. Can you please guide what are the processes for later to sponsor spouses, and after how much time? Well, if you are already married at the time of submitting your application and you have filed your application as spouse and accompanying, if you choose to add your spouse now, obviously your points will be recalculated. And if your points are recalculated and the new score is lower than the drawn score, then your application may be refused. Okay, they may not accept it. However, once you become a permanent resident, you have to arrive in Canada, be a landed immigrant, and then you can apply to sponsor your spouse. Sponsoring the spouse as of right now on an average takes about 12 months. However, the immigration minister has recently announced that they are sort of adding more staff to that department, and hopefully you should start seeing faster processing times. However, you have to be in Canada. Okay, you cannot be outside Canada when you're submitting a spousal application, and even during the process of your application, it is recommended that you continue to reside in Canada. You cannot give up your residence in Canada. All right, you may travel out and in, that's not a problem, but continue your residence in Canada. There is no job requirement, there is no income requirement. You don't need to have a job or income before you can apply for a spousal application. But you will then, if you do not have a job or income, you will need to provide a support letter, or you need to explain how will you be able to support your spouse once he or she arrives in Canada. So it's a paper application as of now. I hope they make it online at some point of time, but as of right now, it's a paper application. So it just takes that much more time. It's a two-step process. So you have to be approved. So, and both the steps are applied together. So you have to apply to get approval as an eligibility for yourself as a sponsor. And then they start the next part of the process, whereby your spouse has to be approved as the applicant for permanent residence. But you apply for both of them together, paper application, and that's just about it. Okay, Ankit says, great work, thank you. If we apply for student visa and get selected in a course, but our visa gets rejected, then all the college fees and other fees paid is lost. What can be tentative loss in case of rejection? No, your fees is not lost, my friend. However, you should check the college's refund policy before you even make the fee payment to the college. Most colleges, I think 99.99% of the colleges will refund your fee if your application for study permit is rejected. Some colleges may deduct some portion of the fee paid for administrative charges. Could be $100, $200, $400, $500. I think some colleges even charge $2,500 as the administrative fee. So it's a good idea to always check what the refund policy of the college is before you make the fee payment. Okay, but no, everything is not lost, and in a lot of cases you can choose a different program. You can ask them to defer your program because your study permit has been rejected. You can defer the program and reapply with the new documents in hand. Okay, been a long one. Been a long one, guys. It's been 2:45, 2 hours, 15 minutes now. Instagram hashtag at Kubeir Kamal. Please do join us on Instagram. We keep doing short stories and keep posting updates. So join us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Ask Kubeir if you can, if you want to. And there are a lot of things that are happening on Twitter all the time. Today's session I would like to end because my throat is sort of giving me a bit of issue right now. I want to sort of drink more water, drink more hot tea, and maybe come and do this again. Hopefully we will do this very soon again. Do another long session of this. Try to take as many questions as possible. Try to answer as many questions. Try to answer and tackle as many queries as you may have. We'll keep doing that. We did that one last week on Instagram. So if you follow us on Instagram, you will be able to join us on our live Instagram chats as well as short stories. And I would like to take your leave because now my stomach is a bit grumbling now and I need to go and get some lunch and then probably take off. Until next time, see you again and love you all. Bye.